Music for the harp is written like that of the piano, on two staves. The right hand playing normally the treble, and the left hand the bass. In fact, if you look inside a piano, you'll see it's just like a harp, played with hammers instead of by a harpist. The tuning of the harp is basically like the white notes of the piano, which gave us a scale of C major. And the black notes, which give the in-between notes, or semitones. And on the harp, and the black notes, you see quite a different sound. The harp goes back into antiquity. Its early shape suggests that it comes from a huntsman's bow with a twang on the string. 4 strings by 3000 BC, and in this instance played on the shoulder. A multi-stringed harp by 1000 BC, and still retaining the primitive shape of the bow. From the 12th century AD, David playing the harp, now with a front pillar added, resembling the minstrel harp. And finally, from an engraving in 1751, an instrument maker's workshop, we see the harp emerging in its present form. Its present form. And now, I'll show you how a modern harp works. This is a new harp made in Germany by Joseph Obermeier, who is 83 years of age. It has 47 strings. And as a guide for the harpist, some of the strings are of different colors. The C strings are red, and the F strings are blue, and the others are more or less colorless. Most of the strings are made of gut from here up, and the lower strings are made of wire. Each string is of a different length and thickness. At the top, short and thin, becoming thicker and longer as we come down the harp. The bottom strings are made of wire because if they were made of gut, they would become too thick and flabby. And wire strings are more effective because they can be thinner and they're more taut. As I said just now, these strings sound like the white notes of the piano. But what happens if I need to use the equivalent of the black note? Well, I have to bring some pedals into operation, and these are at the bottom of the harp. Quite simply, the object of these pedals is to shorten the vibrating length of the strings. So in order to get both the black notes and the white notes, the full chromatic scale, and without doubling the amount of strings on the harp, which would make it too difficult to play, a Frenchman, Sebastian Erard, invented and perfected a pedal harp, this pedal action, in 1810. The pedals control a mechanism which does the job of shortening the strings for us. This is how it works. The pedals move steel rods which rise through the pillar at the front, then across to other rods on the top of the harp, which then move these pins here, which are brought into contact with the strings. Take this string. With no pin touching it, we get this sound. Press the pedal so that the top pin makes contact with the string. The length of the string is now shortened. The amount of string vibrating begins here, thus giving a higher sound, in fact, a semitone higher. Press the pedal again so that the lower pin comes into operation. The string is shortened still further, and we have another semitone. Thus, by using a pedal, each string can produce 3 semitones. There are 7 different pedals, 3 on one side and 4 on the other. There are 7 pedals because there are only 7 different notes to the scale. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. And there's a pedal for each of these notes. On this side we have a B pedal, a C pedal, a D pedal, and on the other side, E pedal, F, G, A, and back again, B, C. The pedal nearest to you is a D pedal. And if I lift it up, all the D strings on the harp become flat. If I press it down to the middle position, the D strings become natural. If I press it down again to the bottom position, the string is shortened still further, and the D strings become sharp. And before starting to play a piece, I set my pedals in whatever key I'm going to play in. If I'm going to play this tune in the key of C major, I shall need all my pedals in the natural position. But if I decide to play it in a different key, say the key of E flat, well, I'm going to need 3 flats. So I set B flat, E flat, A flat. Or if I play in another key, G major, this has all naturals except for 1 sharp, the F sharp, and I'm ready to play in the key of G major. But this is comparatively simple because the pedals are already in position or prepared. But if you have any changes of key during a piece, or chromatic notes or accidentals, well, your feet will just have to move your pedals, and sometimes they move quite quickly. Now to some other harps. Harps have been made in Europe for the last 1,000 years and probably much longer, but none perhaps have been so beautifully made as the Irish harps. Here's a little Irish harp made about 150 years ago in Dublin. It's small and portable, a little larger than the minstrel harp, but of course it's ideal for accompanying songs, like this one about Royster Doyster, who claims he's on the brink of matrimony. I mun be married a Sunday, I mun be married a Sunday, whosoever shall come my way, I mun be married a Sunday. Royster Doyster is my name, Royster Doyster is my name, a lusty boot I am the same, I mun be married a Sunday. Christian Constance have I found, Christian Constance have I found, a widow worth £1,000. I mun be married a Sunday. Constance is as sweet as honey, Constance is as sweet as honey, I her lamb and she my coney. I mun be married a Sunday. When we shall make our wedding feast, when we shall make our wedding feast, there shall be cheer for man and beast. I mun be married, I mun be married, I mun be married a Sunday. Now here's a modern copy of a Celtic harp. This sort of harp has been made all over the world. It's made in Great Britain, it's made in America, and it's even made in Japan. And it's a useful harp for students to learn on. It has about 30 strings, and it doesn't have any pedals. Instead, you can alter each string a semitone by bringing some blades into operation at the top of the harp. And of course, it gives a delicate sound. There are harpists in South America who sometimes make their own harps, and they play popular South American music on them. This is a harp made in London, but based on the South American instrument. It's larger than the minstrel or the Celtic harps, but it has a brilliant sound, and it's very useful in South American music. time of Handel, the Welsh triple harp was greatly used. It was called a triple harp because it had 3 rows of strings. And one of Handel's favourite harpists was a man called John Parry, the blind Welsh harpist. There he is playing, as was the custom of the Welsh harpers, with a harp on his left shoulder. There are 100 strings on this harp in 3 rows. And the difficulty, of course, is getting at the middle row. And the other difficulty is this complete conglomeration of strings. There's so many of them. They used to sing quite a lot to the harp in Wales, and this was a popular instrument there. And they sing in a style called pennillion singing, which is a traditional form of singing to the harp, where the harp plays a traditional Welsh melody like the Ash Grove, and then the singer chooses a poem which he sets to this music, observing certain rules. He must allow the harp to begin alone. Then he enters with his poem. And he must improvise his own melody. He must weave his melody around the tune that's played on the harp. Here's a song about the happy life of the gypsy.
Hey-ho, hey-di-ho, fi yw sipsi bach y fro, carafan mewn cwro fyny, newid aelwyd bo pan aelwydd, hwng y llenni ger y llu, a wneu ei ar gwaith gen i. Hey-ho, hey-di-ho. Rhin yw'r arian yn y god, ond mae amser gwell i ddod. Mi roedd gariad i hen ferched, ac mi werthafon fo masged, yn anol at roman hi, i garafan a carafi. Hey-ho, hey-di-ho.
And now we come back to the modern harp. This one with its decorated pillar and St. Cecilia at the top here, the patron saint of music, was made in Paris about 1930 by the family of Erard. It has a straight soundboard and it has a gentler sound, gentler than the larger harps. One of the most famous harp pieces was written by Ravel. Here is part of the introduction and allegro. Now from the French harp back to the German harp. But as we go, we must look at the old Welsh triple harp with its 3 rows of strings, and this modern harp that's a copy of the South American harp and made in London. Another harp made in London is this Celtic harp, a modern copy of the Irish harp. And just along here, the rather beautiful old genuine Irish harp. And now the German harp. This is the largest instrument of them all. And it has longer strings and a larger soundboard. And you'll notice this extended soundboard, which comes out like this. Although Handel and Gluck experimented, the harp didn't really come into its own in the orchestra until the middle of the 19th century, after the invention of the pedals by Sebastian Erard. But then composers like Berlioz and Wagner developed the harp and used it to its full extent. Normally, we play the harp with the tips of the fingers in the center of the strings. But if you want want to alter the tone, you can move your fingers down to the bottom and get a slightly different sound. And then again, you can use your nails. But normally harpists don't like using their nails because their nails are cut very short. The power of the harp is governed by the pressure of the fingers. So if you're going to play a loud bit, you need to use a lot of pressure, like in these few chords by Tchaikovsky from Romeo and Juliet. But later on, Tchaikovsky has much quieter chords, and then you pluck very gently. But probably the most well-known sound on a harp is this. These are called glissandos, and they got simply by arranging the pedals in a certain sequence. You arrange these pedals like this, and then you just draw your finger over the strings. Now if you change two pedals, you'll get a new chord. And again. Another effect which we have on the harp is called the harmonic, this sound. Berlioz uses this quite often, and it's very well known in the dance of the Will o' the Wisps. This effect of harmonic is got by cutting the string in half with the palm of the hand. You cut the string there, and then you play just the top half of this string with the thumb. So instead of getting the original note, the fundamental, you get the sound an octave higher, the harmonic. And in the right hand, you cut it here and play the top half of the string with the thumb. And you can get chords. Well, if you play in an orchestra, you must always be prepared to play solos, because sometimes you have cadenzas to play. The orchestra plays, and then suddenly you're left high and dry with a piece like this from Tchaikovsky's Nutcracker Suite. Another cadenza is this one by Rimsky-Korsakov from his Capriccio Espagnol. This is rather an amusing cadenza because the conductor is never quite sure when the harpist is going to finish. Well, now, if you wanted to take up the harp, you would have to buy a second-hand harp to begin with, and this would cost you something like a second-hand piano. But later on, you'd want a new harp, and then you'd have to pay a rather lot of money, between £1,000 and £2,000 for a new harp. And an American harp can cost you up to $5,000. But to bring out the real beauty of the harp, you would still have to spend an expanse of time practicing, learning and relearning, seeking always for that elusive perfection. Perfection that's needed in a piece like this, the Gavotte en Rondo by Bach.